Visiting Greece, accompanied by officials from the Lithuanian Ministries of Interior and Justice. We had the opportunity to touch upon many issues of common interest regarding the future of Europe, the tackling of the pandemic, which is still posing its own challenges, and of course our plan for the economic recovery post-COVID. 19, now that the first national plans have been approved by the Commission and by the relevant European institutions. But of course we also discussed in detail the current significant migration pressures that Lithuania is confronted with on its eastern border with Belarus. And these problems, as we discussed, are similar in nature to those Greece has faced for many years. They are characterized by persistent migratory flows, coupled occasionally by an orchestrated effort by a third country to exert political pressure on the European Union through migration as a tool for the projection of geopolitical power. And Lithuania has of late experienced similar challenges and dynamics. I have expressed to Ingrida my full support, and what Belarus is doing is simply unacceptable. Instrumentalizing human beings for political purposes, exploiting the situation through fake news, exploiting their desire to migrate, encouraging them to take on a perilous journey. All that constitutes, in my mind, a serious violation of human rights and an assault on human dignity. We discussed with the Prime Minister and the Lithuanian delegation how to effectively manage the many dimensions that such complicated situations present. How do we protect the European Union's external borders? How do we ensure the necessary reception conditions? How do we speed up, as we have successfully done in Greece, the asylum procedures? And not least, how do we effectively and quickly return those not entitled to international protection to their countries of origin or the countries of transit? Greece has stood by Lithuania from the very beginning of the recent migratory situation it faces, as Lithuania stood by Greece when we faced our challenges last March on our land border with Turkey. And I think the solidarity of frontline Mediterranean states has also been very clear. Our Spanish counterpart, Pedro Sanchez, paid a visit to Vilnius just a few days ago, and the group of Med5 countries has expressed the need of effective cooperation at the European Union level to manage the complex aspects of the migration problem. And it is a view of the Greek government that the migration crisis poses significant challenges to the whole European Union, and therefore must be addressed collectively by the whole European Union. And member states on the external borders, whether in the south, east, or the north of Europe, may find themselves coming under severe migratory pressures. And it is against this backdrop that in addition to the technical bilateral cooperation for dealing with the current situation, we agreed that we need to coordinate our common positions regarding the negotiation for the new European Migration and Asylum Pact. And our shared aim is to achieve a just and effective common European policy, one that will clearly not overburden member states exposed to migratory pressures due to their geography, but will instead ensure a fair and proper sharing of responsibility across the Union, always in the spirit of solidarity. I wish to take this opportunity to underline in the strongest possible terms that Greece is committed to protecting its borders, which are also the borders of the European Union, while always ensuring full respect for human rights. And we will continue to do so, both in respect to our sovereign responsibilities, but also in line with EU regulations. And this, of course, includes intercepting attempted illegal crossings at sea. I need to point out that attempting such sea crossings is highly dangerous to those undertaking this journey, and those who are being encouraged to do so and are being facilitated and exploited by unscrupulous criminal gangs need to know that they will be held accountable for their actions. Neither Greece in the south nor Lithuania in the north wish to be the gateway to Europe for people smuggling networks or third-party states intend on putting pressure on the European Union. And our clear objective should be to discourage, but also disrupt the dangerous criminal gangs and to stop them putting lives at risk. And I believe that this is a position that needs to be shared, that is shared by all EU member states and by the EU institutions. And let me end my remarks by again offering our full and ongoing support to the Lithuanian government in respect to this issue. The pressure you face are not yours to manage alone. The Greek government extends whatever know-how it has, but also its solidarity to Lithuania. And I do hope that this tricky situation is resolved as quickly as possible. Again, Prime Minister, welcome to Athens.
Thank you very much, dear Prime Minister. It's my great honor to be in Greece on the 200th year of the independence. And I think one thing that joins our countries is understanding how to operate in a difficult neighborhood. And this fight for freedom that actually never ends, because you always have to stand for human rights and fundamental values in order to sustain the Western liberal democracy that I think is the most productive and most flourishing environment for people to live, to create, and to increase their welfare. And of course, this is a very complicated time for all European governments. Due to COVID, we had lots of mutual challenges during the recent year. We had to arrange the controls and healthcare systems. We had to prepare for vaccination and to pursue this in order to increase the level of resilience of our societies towards the new variants and new waves that are underway. And this is what we do day to day. But on the other side, there are also positive issues that we can share, being that the developments of our economies that prove to be quite resilient and prove to have quite good prospects both in Greece and Lithuania for this year and the years to come. We have a lot of opportunities to share and coordinate our actions while we implement our national plans of next generation EU funding, because there are issues that are horizontal, that are very important for all the countries in the European Union, being that green transition or digitalization. I very much compliment the Greece for significant achievements in the field of digitalization that I really find worth envying in a positive way. And I think this is the way where European Union should move as a union, but it's easier for us, smaller countries, to be the front runners in this prospect. So I think there are quite many fields of cooperation. But of course, the major issue that we happened to discuss today was the situation at our border with Belarus and the lessons learned or experienced that we can draw from experience of Greece that is similar in very many respects. I must say that one of the issues that sort of joins us together is this act of state-sponsored hijack of the plane in the end of May, because the plane was actually heading to Vilnius from Athens, and that's how our two governments were involved in management of this situation, which was, of course, very close to our borders, and the major part of the passengers were Lithuanian citizens, but there were also citizens from other European countries. And I think all the European Union has felt that very close to the hearts. And the response that followed was very prompt, very strong, and I'm thankful all the governments and the Prime Minister for this solidarity that was shown to our country at this complicated event. However, the problems did not stop there, because we saw a sudden shift of previous activities of Belarus border police that tended to accept people illegally crossing the border coming from Belarus, and therefore we were able to return them back at operational level. This is not happening, and more to it, there is also the whole infrastructure, not only of criminals, but also of state institutions who are participating in arranging the increased flow of migrants to our country. And that is how we have now, I guess, more than 20 times more of people who crossed the border up to today than any previous year of 2020 or 2019. And the whole number, the total number might not seem very frightening, but what is frightening is the trend, because this main influx happened in a very short time frame, and we clearly see that there are processes and procedures that are operational to make this flow even bigger, starting from the decisions of Lukashenko to withdraw from readmission agreements, going to visa requirements that were lowered for many countries, and the marketing of vaccine tourism, which I have very limited fantasy to imagine how that can actually be implemented in Belarus. So definitely we are facing this as a complicated challenge, both in logistical terms, given that we were never on the route or on a bigger road of people trying to get to European Union. So this is a little bit sudden, and we need to expand our capacities to keep people at some conditions that respect their human dignity quite fast and in quite vast amount. And of course, the whole procedure that starts the asylum requests and that are usual in these situations takes time and effort from our institutions and puts additional burden that was not planned and that we need to cope with. One thing I want to say from the beginning, Lithuania is a country that very much understands how people feel when they are persecuted, when they are tortured, when they are put to jail on fake charges, because this is what happens in Belarus for many years. And this is what is very intense in Belarus after fake elections of 2020. And we've provided the hospitality for Belarusian people who had to flee the country and leave everything behind. And the number of these people is significantly higher than the influx of migrants that we are having at current juncture. But still, we know that these are two separate stories in most of the cases. And what we want to make sure that if there are rules, then the rules should be applied and we should stick to the rules. So we want to point that clear, that Lithuania is not a corridor, is not a track towards the European Union, towards Sweden, Germany, or other countries. We want to say that if there are procedures and there are legal instruments to request for asylum if there is a need. Belarus is not a country that might be considered unsafe for other people than Belarusian media, civil society, and people having dissenting opinion from Lukashenko. So definitely there will be a lot of cases where the request for asylum most probably at the end of the day will be considered groundless. But we will have to deal with this, and we will have to ensure that there are enough hands and enough people and courts to proceed this flow, and this will be a significant burden. So therefore, I'm very thankful the Greek government for technical support and expertise that is already provided and will be provided along the way. We want to learn from experience that is real, natural, and although painful sometimes, because this is not a thing that governments would want to engage in. I would find it more interesting to debate economic relations and other day-to-day issues. But since this is a problem that we have to deal with, and the experience of those who have dealt with similar situation is very useful and very important. Our country was participating in joint efforts when the crisis struck the borders of southern EU countries, and I think this is what should be done. If we are a union, we are a union for something, and we are friends, and as they say, when there is a friend indeed, then it means that you have a friend in need, then it means that you have a friend indeed. So I know that I have a friend indeed in Greece, and I'm very thankful for this. Thank you, Prime Minister.
Thank you, Prime Minister.